Hello there and welcome to the Star Wars Showcase YouTube channel, where today we are going to be continuing our Black Series 10-year look back by talking through our deluxe releases. Now, with these retrospectives, we're taking a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, with the good and the bad really just being, different positive and negative traits, and the ugly usually being some kind of larger industry trend that's kind of a little bit more apparent through one of these sublines. But before we get into all of that, let's start by kind of defining what is a Black Series Deluxe release. And as I've been, collecting for multiple years here, and as I've been using Action Figure 411 for a lot of my, collecting tracking, we really get kind of two general breakdowns in terms of what a deluxe figure is. There are deluxe sets. This could mean it's a figure with a large accessory like Emperor Palpatine here, or a vehicle like this Sand Trooper and Dewback. We also get deluxe figures within the Black Series. It's a figure that commands a higher price and is usually bigger or unique in some way that kind of denotes this higher, more deluxe price point. So with that said, is kind of our scene setting defining that needs to take place. Let's talk through the good of our Black Series Deluxe releases. And I think one of the things that we need to acknowledge right off the bat here is with deluxe releases, we are getting a much greater variety of the figures that a company like Hasbro is able to produce for market. For them to stay profitable as a company, they have to continually, make new products and release new things. And for them to hit their margins, that often means we get, releases and re-releases of very common sculpts. So you'll get things like lots of clone troopers or lots of stormtroopers, lots of X-Wing pilots. It's places where you can, as a cost-saving measure, make a couple of quick and easy tweaks and then release a new figure that people would be interested in buying. What's great about deluxe releases is we often get to step outside of that to select it and create a figure that might not be so mainstream. That means with deluxe releases, we usually get a kind of a cooler outside-of-the-box character, someone like Saw Gerrera, for instance, or our Gamorrean guards, or Jar Jar Binks. It's characters who might be prohibited from a mainline release because of, some quality about them. They're difficult to reproduce. They're, bigger in size or require some kind of unique sculpting or tooling. With that aforementioned Gamorrean guard, he's got this, hingeable jaw as well as, soft goods in kind of his belly area. And that was a very unique thing for the Black Series to be doing at the time and is what denoted that deluxe release alongside the additional accessories that he came with. He had these multiple axes and this big kind of spear thing. So for us getting these deluxe releases, it's an opportunity to get something that we might not always get. Unique sculpt, unique characters, as well as the opportunity to get some accessories that the Black Series might not release so commonly. For instance, with some of our Boba Fett releases, there's been different flamethrower and jetpack effects. For our Mandalorian deluxe releases, we've gotten, extra Grogu and his pram, as well as little, Beskar ingots. The Black Series doesn't very commonly release things like this with its mainline releases, and oftentimes with our deluxe figures, we get a couple of those snuck in, which is kind of a nice little bonus. However, some of these little bonuses or these unique sculpts and characters come at a price, and that kind of leads us into the bad when we're talking about deluxe releases, which is going to be an increased cost. From a basic financial perspective, if you're getting more, you can expect to pay more, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be happy about it. And so for our figures that we've mentioned, our Mandalorian, our Gamorrean guard, Emperor Palpatine, these have all come with a higher price tag, even before the recent Hasbro price increases when figures went from $20 to $25. That means our deluxe figures now are often anywhere from $30 to $35, depending on where you're buying them. And like I said, if you really break it down financially, you got to be able to say, well, okay, I'm getting a little bit more bang for my buck here, so that's going to come with a higher price tag. But I think a trend that we've started to see here, and this will kind of segue us into the ugly, is what justifies or what really denotes that something is deluxe. Because for many of our earliest Black Series Deluxe sets, it would be something like the Scout Trooper and his speeder bike, or Luke with his land speeder. And these came with much higher prices, which were very clear and easy to understand because you were getting this unique vehicle or something being added, with a normal figure that would justify that higher price. And the Black Series, for the most part, has really moved away from these vehicle-based deluxe sets just because when you're making them at that size, it denotes a price that I don't think most people were willing to pay. And so a lot of people would wait for these items to go on clearance, to go on sale. And I think what happened is they ended up becoming kind of loss leaders for the line as a whole because no one was willing to pay that much higher price for the larger vehicle, the larger set, the combination of multiple figures together, which has created more and more deluxe releases that are now really just a single deluxe figure or a couple of figures paired together as opposed to kind of these larger sets. But the trend that we're seeing, this ugly, is that our new deluxe releases sometimes kind of ride the line of, is this figure necessarily deluxe? Would I really want to pay more for this? Because it doesn't seem like we're kind of crossing that threshold. There's some figures where it's very clear. We have someone like Saw Gerrera or Zeb Aurelios from Rebels, and they're like a foot taller than everybody else, or like in Saw's case, have this very unique, armor that has to be, molded, that can only be used for the Saw Gerrera figure, and that because he's so asymmetrical, I can kind of understand, okay, a couple more bucks because he's got like a sandal on one foot, a mechanical leg on the other. He comes with soft goods and the walking stick and the breath mask. It's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then there's some other figures. Our recent Cobb Vance release, and Cobb is not really bulky in any way. If anything, he's kind of like a big string bean, and the justification that was used to justify, him being this deluxe figure was that he had lots of unique paint applications that were being used on him, that it was so complicated that's why he was being included as this higher price range, which, maybe you can understand it that Cobb has all of these extra, metal scratches because he's wearing Boba's kind of rusted, acid-burned armor. But Cobb was also missing a bunch of paint applications on his legs where items that would have been painted metallic were just painted, the brown of his pants. There's others like our Boba Fett releases where the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, who came with all of these extra accessories, kind of rode that line. He's just a normal figure with a few things tacked on. Is that deluxe or is that just mainline with a bonus item? But then when the Book of Boba Fett came out, he was just a normal figure in a very big package. And it almost felt like in the actual, plastic bubble, they were just kind of spreading things out in order to kind of fill that space and say, oh yeah, this guy's a deluxe release, that's going to be $5 to $8 extra, please. So what really is deluxe? We don't really have a clear standard. And with some of our new and upcoming deluxe figures, I think they fall a little bit more definitively into that clear, okay, this is a deluxe figure. We've got someone like Darth Malgus or, Chrysanthemum, and it's like, okay, well, these guys are going to tower over anyone that they're around, and it looks like they're coming with, all kinds of very unique elements where, for me as a collector, I can say, okay, it makes sense that I'm going to pay a little extra for that. But we have seen that trend in the past couple of years, that it's almost like there's this rule of cool that kind of denotes who's going to be our deluxe releases. And it most specifically falls for Boba Fett. Everyone loves Boba Fett. They're always going to want to hunt him down. And so for our Boba Fett releases and our Cobb Vanth as well, who's wearing Boba's armor, that's going to come with this kind of higher justified price tag, despite him being, the most average guy because he's a clone and there's a million of them. Now, is kind of a bonus topic, one positive trend that I really like about our deluxe releases that we're starting to see more and more of is this idea of multi-packs. It's where you're able to buy, multiple figures as part of this larger deluxe set. And that has really, for a long time, been a hallmark of Star Wars collecting. You would buy 4 figures together, and they might be in like a special tin or, themed around a certain moment or a particular scene within a movie. And we haven't seen a lot of that in the Black Series over the past several years, as, a little bit in the original orange and blue lines. We had some multi-packs for different clones and different troopers, but been a lot of single releases over the last couple of years, with the exception of, and I think what has started this positive trend, is you'll see like the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda packed together. Or for more recent announcements, things like Luke Skywalker and Grogu paired together to represent some of their training sequences. So you're getting these 2 figures plus some extra accessories that were very unique to the moments that they shared together. And I really like stuff like that, getting multiple figures, multiple themes, as well as accessories that probably wouldn't be released in any other format, and that you would likely have to turn to someone who's doing like a 3D print operation to get something of that nature. We also recently saw announced a Cobb Vance and Cad Bane 2-pack from their appearance in the Book of Boba Fett. So having multiple, what would ordinarily be 2 separate mainline figures released together in a single set based on a scene that they share. Now, this particular example here kind of raises some questions because Cobb Vance has already been released before, albeit not in this unarmored appearance, but appears as though the Cad Bane is just going to be very similar to his mainline release that's going to be coming up. I think there's some slight differences in the face in terms of the expression there, but for the most part, very, very similar. So that kind of asks the question, do I want to buy these mainline releases if we're going to get these multi-packs in the future? Because maybe I want that unarmored Cobb Vance, but I already have the Cad Bane, and I don't want a second Cad Bane that's pretty much the exact same. So as a collector, you almost have to start, pumping the brakes a little bit, because is this going to get released again down the line? Do I want the multi-pack? Do I just want the main line? So we'll see if this becomes more of a trend. It's something that I've been thinking about. I myself am probably going to pass on this set because I've already got the armored Cobb Vance, and will likely get the mainline Cad Bane, so I'm not looking to repeat there. But we'll see if this is going to become a pattern moving forward. So that's kind of a breakdown of our Star Wars Deluxe sets, and let me know your thoughts down here in the comments. If I'm missing any points on the different traits and qualities of these releases, if you've got favorite figures that have been released, under this kind of Deluxe banner, let me know your thoughts. Would love to get the conversation going. I really love doing these retrospectives, just kind of looking back on the line as a whole, because it's fun for me as a collector to be able to reflect on and say, here's the moments I really liked, and to be honest, here's the areas where I'd love to see some more positive change. So I hope you enjoyed this video here. If you're looking for our other 10-year look-back videos, I've got a playlist popping up on the screen. Please also feel free to check out the rest of the channel. We've got 60-second reviews of figures. We've got custom tutorials and all kinds of other videos. So please make sure to check those out, as it really helps grow the channel.